Hi, everyone. Welcome to Book Talks with Miss Thomas, and welcome to my very first vlog about the books for my Philippians 4 project. If you haven't seen the haul yet, there is a haul video where I compiled a list of books, put them on hold at the library, and checked them out. And I've begun reading them and talking about them. And for this video vlog, I walk you through my experience as I read 3 different Christian books where mystery meets romance, and 2 were excellent. 1 was a DNF. So if you want to hear about those books, stay tuned. Oh no, you're not the one for me. Like 10 minutes ago, just finished. Hello everyone on BookTube. I am reviewing my Philippians 4 books, and I'm going to try something new. I'm going to review them as I read them so that they're fresh in my mind. And like 10 minutes ago, just finished The Reckoning at Gossamer Pond, and I say 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. 5 stars for sure. And I don't know though if it'll go on the list. And I had actually emailed the librarian because, for the Christian library. And I said, do you have a section for just high school students? Because this is a Christian book. I loved it, but it does have some mature content. So I'll tell you about the book. And I think what I'll do is I'll put it on the list because I'm giving a check, and that's the beauty of my task or my project. I'm reading the books, reviewing the books, and giving a list and writing a check. So ultimately, the decision's not mine. But I do really love this book. I highly recommend it for adults and for discerning readers. There are some mature things in it, but it is a Christian book. So The Reckoning of Gossamer Pond, it covers 2 different time periods. One is 1907 and one is the present. It doesn't specifically say what they mean by the present. And the character from 1907 is Libby, and the character from the present is Annalise. I believe her name would be pronounced Annalise. Libby Sheffield and Annalise Forsyth. So Libby is in 1907, and it does begin with her. And I kind of thought, oh, wow, this is going to be, an old-fashioned book because the language and the descriptions are from 1907. But that's only the first chapter, and then the next chapter gets into the present. And I did find the past and present storylines very engaging. Both of them were equally engaging, which I enjoy because typically when I read a book that has 2 different storylines, I tend to like one and hate the other, and even sometimes scan the storyline that doesn't interest me to get to the chapter that does. But I found both of these, both storylines and both characters equally engaging. So Libby from 1907 and Annalise from the present, whatever the present means. And we begin with Libby. She works for a newspaper, which her father runs with another man. The 2 of them are co-owners of a newspaper. They have a pretty contentious relationship, and Libby's typically in the middle of their arguments. She just types for her father and really gets sent on his errands and everything. He's not a real pleasant guy. But Libby, she comes across an obituary that's been submitted to the newspaper for a man, a preacher who is alive and well. And so she is concerned, and she goes to check on him, and she finds him hanging. And, it's dismissed as a suicide, but she thinks he's been hanged. He's been killed. And then, other obituaries show up before people are killed. And so that's a mystery. Is somebody writing obituaries and killing people? What is going on here? Are these killings or are they accidental deaths or suicides? And of course, Libby has her own secret, which is, eating away at her. And there's also going on in 1907. Oh, there's something in my hair. Sorry. Going in 1907, that was just lint, by the way, if you're worried. Okay, will I edit that? I don't know. But also in 1907, there are these two brothers who are revivalists. So it's like a tent in the center of town kind of thing, except it's a tent at Gossamer Pond. And it's these two brothers who are preaching and baptizing and saving souls. And they're traveling revivalists. And they're quite controversial because the one is very fire and brimstone and very, radical in the things he says. And he's accused of having coarse language and offending ladies. And he, I think, goes into bars and preaches, which causes a stir. And so the town is in an uproar over these two revivalists. And Libby is a little bit afraid of one revivalist in particular. He seems to be expressing an interest in her. He's always, trying to walk her home and things, and kind of gives her the creeps. So, that's interesting too, the situation with the revivalists and what exactly is that about. Now, I will say, just because I'm not going to give you spoilers, really, there's one little spoiler, but it's like very early in the book. But I will say that one thing I really loved about the book was that radical fire and brimstone view and how it was so sharply contrasted with grace and mercy. And that was the thing I loved most about the book. So it definitely is a book that shows you the beauty of grace and the beauty of mercy and forgiveness. And that is what makes the book, that makes all the rest. It covers the multitude of the other sins. There's only one issue I have with it. But to me, the idea of grace cancels that issue out. So I'll get into that later. But the contrast between the fire and brimstone preaching and the message of grace, I thought the two presented together were very effective. I thought the way they were presented together was effective, and I do highly recommend the book, and that was my favorite thing about it. Let me tell you about the other character, Annalise. So Annalise in the present, she is I'd say about early 20s, and she has her own coffee shop. And she's running her coffee shop, and she's trying to run a pantry that she's created, a food pantry for the people of the community who need food. And she is trying to begin a homeless shelter. And so she's sort of trying to petition the government and get this homeless shelter put in place. And there's some land that she wants to use for the homeless shelter. And we find out in that introductory chapter as well that this ex-boyfriend of hers has moved into the house right next door to hers. And because he is going to work with somebody who's got different ideas for the land. So not only is this blast from the past, this guy who broke her heart, moving in next door, but he's also going to be competing with her project to have a shelter for homeless people in the community. And so she's very upset by that. Now, this is a slight spoiler alert, very, very early in the book, but somewhat of a spoiler alert. We do find out that, and I'm saying it only because it's relevant to my project, my Phil.4 project. We find out pretty early in the book that Annalise had a baby when she was 18, and that's why she's so bitter toward this this guy who broke her heart and left, he's back in town years later, 12 years later. So let's see, if she had the baby when she was 18, she would be 30. So I said early 20s, she's 30. But, she had his baby when she was 18 and he left. He, left town, and she went away to another state and had the baby and gave it up for adoption. And it just rocked her world. It was in a bad way. It just upset her world. And she didn't forgive him for leaving. And she has all these painful memories of giving up her baby for adoption. Now, that's the only thing about the book that concerned me. I say concerned. I don't say why I didn't like the book, because I give this book 5 stars, okay? But as far as putting it in a library for young people, I struggle with that, and I'm interested in the comments if anyone has opinions about that. But ultimately, it won't be my decision anyway, so that's the beauty of this project. But I worry that because she obviously still has feelings for this guy, and there's a romantic tension between the two of them in the book, and she had his baby when she was 18. I worry that recklessness of premarital intimacy is being romanticized, or in some way definitely not glorified. The book doesn't glorify it, but as I was reading, I worried about that. I kept looking for that, and when I finished the book, it's definitely clearly the two of them have a conversation about it, and it's like, wow, we really were young, and we were foolish. A child came out of it, and that child has a life, and that's a blessing. But what we did was not wise, and let's try to get to know each other very slowly now. So I don't think, having finished the book, I don't think that teenage romance was glorified or romanticized in a way that is unproductive. So all that to say, I still will put the book on the list. I definitely recommend this book. So it had a little bit of romance, a whole lot of mystery, and a great deal of mercy. And the interesting thing was obviously because it was all Gossamer Pond. So 1907, Libby lives in Gossamer Pond, and then present, these people live in Gossamer Pond. And so they're related. And that was another cool thing about the book, was the sort of domino effects of everyone's actions, and how generations later we're still seeing the effects of people's actions. And that's biblical. So I appreciated that too. I definitely highly recommend The Reckoning of Gossamer Pond. And I am so excited that was my first book for my Phil.4 project, because it was really a blessing. Hello everyone, it's me again, and I am here with yet another Phil.4 book. Now this one I gave maybe less than an hour of my time, and maybe that's not fair. I don't know. I will throw this out there on BookTube and let you guys decide. So this one is called The House on Foster Hill, The House on Foster Hill. I don't remember where I heard about it or why I picked it, but it is, I guess, written as a Christian book. And so I started to read it. I read chapter 1 and maybe a little bit into chapter 2. And I kind of know right away, this isn't, oh no, you're not the one for me. But my first reason why I'm not going to read this one is it starts out with this reference. It's a character named Ivy, and she's helping her father, who is like a criminal doctor. He does the post-mortem exams for people. And I guess this woman has been murdered. And so Ivy goes with her father to get the body, and then they're going to examine it. And there's this Joel, thump, 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 thump. Joel appears. And when we meet Joel, it's very like, I don't know. It comes across to me as a little bit. Okay, so I'll just read you what it says. So Ivy's standing here. For all that's holy, Ivy froze, releasing her grip on her skirt and allowing the hemline to settle in the muddy earth. Joel, she knew the lifeless expression in her voice did nothing to represent the pounding of her heart in her ears. Her vision grazed the broad back encased in a black wool coat. The fedora hat tilted on his head hid the majority of the familiar dark brown hair. I'm not really big on romance anyway. I got this because it's supposed to be a murder mystery. And it said that a woman purchased a house after trying to convince people her husband was killed 2 years earlier, and I guess no one was listening to her. And so she buys this eerie house. I don't know. It sounded really good. But then the last thing for me, the reason that I was definitely like DNF is because at the very end of the first chapter, Joel and Ivy's father are looking at this woman who has been killed in the woods. And it says, the woman had no identification yet. Even so, it dawned on Ivy with clarity, though she knew immediately it wasn't supernatural. The young woman had named herself and whispered into Ivy's soul. Maybe this is why the town of Oakwood speculated as to whether Ivy Thorpe really was just an over-curious woman who investigated the lives of the dead, or if she had some undefined connection to the afterlife. We're done. We're done. Okay, so I'm just sharing with you guys the books that I am looking into for my Philippians.4 project, and this one is going to get scratched because the good news is I have a really long list of lots of good books, and so maybe I'm being unfair because it's only one chapter into this one, but I'm going to pass this one by and I'm going to move on. So which one do I want to move on to? I probably will go next to Fatal Mistake. So stay tuned. Hi, everyone. So Truffles and I are currently reading Fatal Mistake, and so far it is really excellent. Right, Truffy? Yes, it's very good. It's almost as good as sausage. Okay, so this one is it's the third book of my first Philippians.4 haul. The first book was The Reckoning at Gossamer Pond. Fantastic. The second book, I don't remember, something about a house, and I didn't even finish it. So I grabbed this one. Sorry, Truffy. Covered up the beautiful Truffy. This one's really good. So what happens in this book, can I just tell you, from the very, very, very beginning, chapter 1 begins with a 911 call. This girl is in this house. Her aunt rents the house out to this guy named Orrin. And she goes into the house looking for something, and she stumbles across the materials to make bombs. And there is this lone wolf bomber that the press has been talking about. And so because of that, instead of calling 911, she calls like the lone wolf bomber hotline, and she gets this FBI agent who walks her through getting to safety. But as he's on the phone with her, the lone wolf bomber, the guy named Orange, shows up. And so he starts chasing her while she's on the phone. Now, this is all chapter 1. He starts chasing her while she's on the phone with the FBI agent, and he shoots her. And the FBI agent, he's on the phone with her, but he comes to her rescue. And just as she's bleeding out, he takes her to the hospital. Wow, mind blown. This is a Christian book. Really action-packed, really intense, right from the beginning. And so she's in the hospital still. I'm telling you, like this one might be chapter 2, but she's in the hospital and the bomber shows up and he threatens her. He mouths, "You're dead." And she's like, how did he get around the FBI? And so she panics and she runs. And so she is on the run her name is Tara, and she is on the run from the lone wolf bomber. She escapes the hospital, escapes the FBI, and just goes like rogue, like on the run. And then there's Oren, the FBI. Not the FBI. Oren is the lone wolf bomber. So Tara escapes the hospital to run for her life, and then the bomber is chasing after her, and then the FBI agent is chasing after her and the bomber, and his name is Agent Cal Riggins. And it's so much action going on in this book. And I did notice that it is a White Knights novel. So Cal Riggins is an FBI agent who's part of the White Knights. And then there's some other FBI characters that I guess are also in there. Fantastic so far. I am a good 2/3 of the way through, and I think I started it yesterday. It's a real page turner. So this one's looking like another winner. Hi everyone. So I'm going to finish this vlog now because I've given some thought. Do I want to keep going or do I want to finish with a fatal mistake for this video? And I'm going to stop with a fatal mistake for this video. I really enjoyed it. I finished it last night. It was a nail biter from beginning to end. It kept me on the edge of my seat. I've already told you how it begins. I'm going to give it 4 stars instead of 5 because I was thinking about it. Do I like it as much as Gossamer Pond? No. Gossamer Pond would be really hard to beat though. I love that one a lot. But the thing about this book, I really liked it. I highly recommend it. It is going to go on my Philippians 4 list. But it was another mystery meets romance, and it wasn't even really a mystery because there was no whodunit. It was like, we know who the bad guy is. It's just a question of how much destructive violence can he bring about before he gets caught, kind of thing. And it was a lot of action. It was a lot in the story that kept me going, but I didn't really need to guess because I knew up front who the bad guy was. And so it was an action book, not so much a mystery. And I guess for me, that's one reason that I didn't give it 5 stars, because I like to try and figure things out. And it was really more of a how's he going to get caught to figure out. And that wasn't quite as fascinating for me. And I'm not really a big romance reader. There was a little bit of romance. It wasn't over the top, but I just get a little tired of, I guess the overly sweet books. But, if you like romance, then I would definitely recommend this book. I still enjoyed it immensely. And the other thing I will say, I'm kind of new to Christian BookTube. I've been, reading and reviewing books that aren't necessarily Christian for a year, but I have been watching Christian booktubers, and I've noticed that they often talk about the spiritual content of the book. And so I will say that about this book too, that even though it's classified as a Christian book, it didn't really have any biblical content, which if you're looking for a Christian book, that would be, I think, like to knock it down a star. That would be like a -1 star, a demerit star, if you will. It talked about God. There was a lot of, oh God, please protect me. Oh Lord, please help me here. But that was it. It just kind of stopped there. And I didn't really find that to be sound biblical reading. There was really no reference to the Bible. There was like a very vague reference to God's sovereignty, but not really. I wouldn't really call this a biblical read. Both characters happen to be Christian. Both characters alluded to God in the book. So it doesn't have to be a Christian book though to make the list. But if you're looking for something that's, a sound Christian book, I wouldn't really call this that. I would say it's a clean read, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a Christian read. So, I mean, that is how it's classified, I believe. So far be it from me to say, but in my opinion, it was more clean than Christian. And that's okay with me, but I'm just putting that out there. I'm getting tired of mystery romance, and so I'm going to switch gears. And I thought about, do I want to keep going with this vlog video, or do I want to start a new vlog video? So I'm going to start a new vlog video with this one, because this one is completely different than the other books in this video. This one I believe is young adult, and it's called Out of My Mind. And it doesn't, I don't think it's a mystery or a romance. And so I'm going to start a separate vlog with this one, and I'm going to switch gears. And then I can sort of treat this video that I'm making now. I haven't edited it yet or, posted it. So I think I'm going to edit it and post it as a Christian mystery romance video. So those are 3 books that are Christian mystery romance. 2 were very good and 1 was a DNF. So I'll stop there, and then my next video will start with this one. So thanks so much for listening. And again, if you have any input, any books to recommend, any thoughts, please go ahead and put them in the comments below, because I am really excited to create this list of books for the young adult Christian reader. So I welcome any feedback, and I hope that you'll join me in this adventure. Thanks so much for listening, and bye for now.